local, live, interactive. This is Rogers Television, Newmarket.
I'm John Dowson, and you're watching Profiles. For over 80 years, the poppy's been a symbol of remembrance for Canadians who died in the service of their country. November the 2nd and 11th this year has been designated as National Poppy Day in Canada. And today we're going to meet some veterans of the Second World War who are members of the Royal Canadian Legion here in Newmarket. One of our veterans started the war when he was only 15 years old. So don't go away, we'll be right back. Right, we're back in the studio, and I'm talking today to Clay Stones, who's the president of the Royal Canadian Legion, number 46 in Newmarket, the Milton Wesley branch, right? 426, I'm sorry. And George Filday, who is also a member of the Legion, and have been for how many years now?
54.
54 years. Well, we were talking earlier off camera before we came on. Clay, you're the president this year.
6 times.
6 times? Yeah. And you're a veteran of the Second World War through the Merchant Marine.
Yeah.
And you're a veteran of the Second World War through the
RCMVR.
The Navy, Royal Canadian Navy. So while you were on the ships carrying supplies, you're looking after Clay, were you? Or
he was ducking. He's my nursemaid.
But we were talking about the Legion itself. Now, the Newmarket branch, 426, named after Milton Wesley, is on Shrigley Street here in Newmarket, right?
Yeah.
Now, it is actually the building, and I know they had a terrible fire there and you're rebuilding that, is actually on the site where there was a camp that trained soldiers, I think, here in Newmarket. So the building is still, well, is it all burnt? It hasn't all burnt down,
well, basically, no. The bottom part is still there. The top part is all new. But there was a 2 stories there. They put another story on. Well, that first story was there all the time, wasn't it? Yeah. And they took that, the fire, everything dropped down to the first floor.
But so you're rebuilding it there, and when is it expected to open?
Well, we've still got quite a bit to do in the big hall before we can really officially open. We're not allowed to open it until such time that it's all approved by the inspectors and whatnot.
And that was, you say, the mess hall for the camp that was here that trained soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was you were saying?
Officers' mess.
Officers' mess. That was the officers.
Right.
Oh. And how did the Legion end up getting this building? They buy it, or?
The DNA gave it to the DMD, gave it to the town of Newmarket, and the town of Newmarket sold it to the Legion for $1, and then donated the $1 back to the Legion.
Really? So this is so you took the mess and then they remodeled it, I guess, into the Legion. And you were telling me that when it was opened in 1946, this is the Newmarket branch. Newmarket was a dry town. You couldn't buy a drink, a glass of anything legally. Was there a bar there then?
Well, behind the scenes there was a bar.
Oh, I see. As long as you're a member.
If you were a member only, even the police chief was a member at the time.
So that was a little privilege of becoming a member, was that you didn't have to drive to Bradford in order to get a drink at the...
You know, I'll tell you something about that too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the police chief at that time, Byron Burbage, and he was the first one in Canada to get an honorary membership in the Legion.
That's right.
Really?
Right across Canada.
Was there some message behind that, becoming an honorary member?
I'm not going to go into that part.
So you were born and raised, I understand, in Richmond Hill, or actually Langstaff, which...
Well, I was born in Toronto, but I moved to Langstaff when I was 5 years old.
Which was way out of way along. I remember the Highway 7 and Young was when I grew up, the streetcar used to stop there.
That's right, the Tourville trolley.
Yeah. And how old were you when you joined?
I was just going on 16.
You weren't even 16?
No, not quite.
There was an article written about you in the local paper, the Era Banner, that you had somehow or other, can you tell us a little bit about how you got joined and hooked up with a Norwegian ship?
Well, basically what happened was I was with the Queen's Own Rifle and a reserve army, or we used to call them Saturday night soldiers. And when they went active, they wouldn't take me because I was too young, so I went right over to Wellington Street in Toronto and joined the Canadian Seamen's Union, or Canadian Seamen's Association, I should say. And they shipped me to New York that night. And that was about, I think it was a 7 o'clock train at night. And they gave me a box lunch, and I had no money on me. And I got to New York City at the Grand Central Station, and I had to walk from there to the 80 Broad Street, New York, where the Norwegian shipping was. And they put me on a Norwegian ship, which about 12 o'clock noon. By 3 o'clock, I was waving goodbye to the Statue of Liberty on the Norwegian ship.
That fast?
No training whatsoever.
And what were you the only English-speaking person on the ship?
The only one. Terrifying.
What were you supposed to be doing? What were you doing?
Mess boy. And believe it or not, taking orders of what these ones want to eat and whatnot with it. And I couldn't speak their language.
Really? Mm. So how many, I mean, it didn't take very long before you started learning something, I'm sure.
Yeah. I would kind of hate to say what I learned because there may be people out there who knows Norwegian. The first couple words.
But what about your folks? How did they take this? I mean, a 15-year-old kid going down and joining up in the Navy, the Merchant Marine?
I think I was in Cardiff, Wales, when they found out I was in the Merchant Navy.
So they didn't know where you were? You didn't tell them or phone them?
I didn't dare because I was too young even for the Merchant Navy at the time.
Is that right? How old were you supposed to be in the Merchant Navy?
Well, the Merchant Navy, really, I think it was 17 they let you in. Those the Canadian Merchant Navy. The British Merchant Navy, you get in there when you're 12. But the Canadian Merchant Navy had to be 17.
And was there a phone? Could you phone your parents then, or how did they find out?
I wrote them a letter from Cardiff, Wales, I think it was, and that. I forged their name on, my mother's name on the letter saying that I was of age to join, you see.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, a lot of us did that in those days, though.
Well, how many were in the family? How many?
I was just my sister and I.
And so there was they must have been in shock. I mean, really concerned. Where is my son? Where is he? What did your dad do there?
I think they knew because I think I told my buddy to tell them, but I wanted to make sure I was long gone before they knew because they would have stopped me. So what we used to do, we'd tell our buddy, and then about maybe 2 weeks after, we would go up and tell him he's in the where he was in the Merchant Navy and that.
By that time, you're on the high seas.
Yeah,
too late.
Yeah. Too late to call him back. Then.
And how about you, George? Were you one of these boy?
Not really. No, but
how old were you when you
kind
started?
of on my own. I was through high school, and I went up to Thunder Bay at the time. Started working there, and met some fellows that wanted to go and join for Hong Kong. Well, they didn't join for Hong Kong, but they joined the Winnipeg Rifles. And they were way older than I was. At least they were a couple of years older than I was. They were accepted, and I was too young. So one came back, and one never came back. And then I waited then for about another year before I joined about a better year before I joined the Navy. And then I wasn't accepted till 1943 in the Navy.
And that would be, how old would you have to be then, at 18?
I would just turn in 18 when I was accepted because at that time they were filled up. DHQs, divisional headquarters, were only allowed to take so many in their turns, and as you waited your turn to get into the services, well, then I went in 43.
So why did you join? Why did you want to join? Was there an atmosphere, or was it patriotism?
Yes. I would say that every boy and male in our class in high school, at about, I would say at least 60% of them were in the services, and most of them went into the Air Force.
And you're from
because air crew was a big prominent thing at that time because they were shooting down rear gunners, and anybody could make a rear gunner as long as he could pull the trigger.
And you're from not from Newmarket, are you?
Well, actually, I had a lot of contact with Newmarket here because I've had relatives in Newmarket since 1850, and I was actually born and raised north of Bradford at Cookstown.
Oh, in Cookstown. But and you were one of the people who goes to the schools, I think the high schools, and talks to the students.
Yes.
And what do they say? What do they ask you? And
They're all asking you about your experiences. Some's good, some's bad.
And do they ask you like why you would want to join? And is that what's the question they get most asked?
Did you kill anyone?
That's
Really?
Yeah,
That's
the first
about
thing
the
they ask.
first thing they asked you.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
And then did you fire a gun?
Right.
And did you drop any depth charges? But these are the things that...
And did you drop any depth
Oh, yes.
charges? What was your job on the ship then?
Mine actually was on supplies. I brought in ordered all the victuals, which is all your food,
Right.
and your rum. I looked after the serving of rum, which is grog.
Did they give the two, what was it,
You got a tot a day, which was 2 ounces. But I will tell you, the grog was so strong that it took you 30 days before you had one a day for 30 days before you could actually walk away and say you were in your right mind.
Is that right? Well, did you have that in the merchant marine? No grog served there.
We used to make our own home brew, we called it.
Oh, I see.
We'd have these galvanized bathtubs, and everybody, once you left a port, everybody would throw everything they got, fruit, wine, whatever they had, into this tub. Let it sit for about a week, and then we start sampling it. And as it went down, you could see the galvanized off the tub going down with it. It was just black. Well, you never know what we were drinking. We didn't have a clue with it.
I guess it's just as strong as what you were the rum on the ship there. So what type of a ship are you on? Destroyer?
Frigate.
Frigate. And
333 feet long.
how many men would be on that ship?
66.
And were you in convoy duty? Is that?
Oh, yes.
So that was the frigate's job?
Yes.
And
yes.
Where was the convoys that you were on?
A great deal of it was Triangle Run, which was Bahamas and to St. John's, Newfoundland, and Halifax and New York. Like actually the Triangle Run was St. John's, Halifax, and New York.
So what would you be doing in the Bahamas? What would they pick up there?
Oh, there's all kinds of U-boats along the coast of U.S.
U-boats?
Oh, yes. They were right down into the past Montreal.
They were?
They got in right into passed through the gates.
Did you ever get involved in a fight with a U-boat?
We never got involved with a fight with a U-boat, but we were we captured one.
You did? How did that happen?
Actually, the capturing of it was a white flag. They had sunk one of our sister ships, and I lost a few friends on it. And they laid in the bottom for 14 days, and then they did surface and came up. Well, like we were surrounded, they were surrounded by Canadian ships, and they surfaced and came up and put a white flag up. We took 44 German crew on board our ship, and 12 of the crew went to the Buckingham, HMCS Buckingham, which was a sister ship.
And what happened to
to us.
the U-boat itself, the submarine?
It was towed into St. John's, Newfie.
It was?
Yeah. And then it came back and they brought it over to Halifax, and it sat there till after the war and made a victory cruise right up through the Great Lakes to Windsor.
Oh, kidding.
So,
was your ship ever torpedoed or?
We had one ship I was on was Acoustic Mines. We hit by Acoustic Mines, and broke open the number 1 and 2 holes and sunk us. We were down like this in the water. They towed us in the Cowes Isle of Wight. Just 2 destroyers did, and there was 14 of us went back. We abandoned ship, and then 14 of us went back on board again to bring her in. And we were taken in the Cowes Isle of Wight, and from there to the Falmouth River, where they welded steel plates on the hatch covers instead of the hatch covers on the deck, and put big pumps in there, not pumps, but air compressors in, and we went back to sail it back to New York.
Oh, the bubble business, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And we sailed it back to New York.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, on that note, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to meet Lauren Tenant, another member of the Legion. So don't go away. We'll be right back. All right. Right, we're back in the studio again, and we're joined by Lauren Tenant. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
So we've gone from the Navy now to the Army. You were in the Army during the Second World War.
Well, I was there for 5 years.
You were? When did you join up?
September 39. I was in England in February 40.
And were you a rifleman, or what did you do?
Oh, we were with the transport, driving trucks.
You were a truck driver?
Yeah. It's better than walking.
I'll bet it is, yeah.
Until they hit the mine.
So you joined up, were you from Newmarket, or you said you're from Aurelia?
I was born and raised in Aurelia, and then I was down in the city there, and I decided I'd join up and get the heck into the service.
No, again, I asked the other George when he was here. Why did you decide to join? You joined right at the beginning when the Second World War started, at least for Canada in 1939. Yeah. What was the reason behind doing that?
Oh, just experience, I guess. I thought it was going to be great fun, but I found out different when I got over there.
I guess a lot of people would think that too, wouldn't you? You know, if you're young. And how old were you then?
Well, I was 22 when I landed over in England.
So you'd be about 21 when you joined then?
Yeah. Well, September 39, I was 21, and then 22 in February, my birthday.
And where did you join up? Right in Toronto?
The Army Vet on University Avenue.
Was there many people joining up the day you were there?
Oh, there were quite a few of them. Some got in, some didn't.
What was it? Did you have to have a medical exam or something?
Well, they gave you a medical after you got in there. Once they get you're signed down there, you do what they tell you.
And you ended up in the Army Service Corps.
Yeah.
And this is where all the supplies came from, right?
Well, we delivered everything: gas, ammunition, food, whatever the heck we had to deliver, even troops up to the front lines.
So here you are, Clay, on the ships, the merchant ships, bringing over the supplies and unloading them, and George is there picking them up and delivering them.
He's picking them up and delivering for us.
Yeah, we're delivering them around to the front lines and that.
Basically, you got something there going. You got Navy escorting us across there, and then you got the Army picking up after us. Like,
Yes,
well, I had to take the crap from them too.
Have you been to the school too and talked to some of the students?
Well, I've been to a few of the schools, yeah.
And what did they? We were talking to George earlier, and he said he asked them the same questions. You said they asked the same questions, like did you kill anybody? And
oh yeah, they asked all that stuff. They even asked if we had AK-47s.
Yeah,
that came out after the Second War.
So what is it you tell students in there when you go to the school?
Just tell them that it's no fun. You get in there, you think it's fun, but it's not. You see them children and everything else blowing up. Find them there. I was up in London the night they bombed the heck out of London. I was with the English Bobby going around digging them out.
What people, you mean?
What was left of them.
Yeah.
You'd find a leg one place and something else someplace else.
This is right in London.
Yeah. They were mostly civilians.
Now, we've got we've got the poppy on, and we have a poppy here which Clay has brought. This is can you just a little bit back on the symbol? We know the poppy's been around since it's the poem, you know, First World War and so on, but what's the symbolism behind this poppy? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I know it's an honor to be able to wear one. And it goes to a lot of good. It helps war veterans and that who are down and need help, and their families.
But it's a symbol of remembrance, I think, isn't it, where it started, isn't it?
Act of remembrance.
It is.
An act of, you wear it not so much for the money, the proceeds and something,
No.
but as an act of remembrance for...
Remembrance your comrades that passed on.
But even if, like, I wasn't in the Second World War, but people like the students and that would wear this, hopefully people wear a poppy to remember all of the veterans from Canada and all of the wars or whatever.
What the poppy does is that even though you're not a veteran,
what you're saying when you wear it is thank you to the veteran for giving you the freedom you have, which normally, like, look, all these countries that hasn't got that freedom, and what we have here in this country, we're so lucky to have one of the best countries in the world with it.
Now, in the United States, they, they sell them in May, you know, buddy poppies, and they're also in England as well. Where did this idea of the poppy come from?
In Flanders Field, from the First World War.
So that's where that's
where it originally
It was a doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
McRae, I believe. Yeah.
in Flanders Field, the poppies grow.
But it wasn't. It didn't start until after the war, I guess. This idea of have.
It started right after the First World War was over, and it started in Britain. And then, of course, in Canada, it was called the Royal British Legion in those days, British Empire Service Legion, I should say. And so when they, of course, they brought that with them, and it was mainly I guess we'd say the British really started the Legion in Canada. You would have to say, really. And then we took it over and called it Royal Canadian Legion. I think it was around about 1950.
It'd be around about
anyway.
yeah.
And we took it over, like as we renamed it the Royal Canadian Legion.
Oh, I see.
We have right now we have over 500,000 members across Canada.
Really?
1,700 something branches across Canada along with it.
And how long have you been a member here then, Lauren?
Well, I joined this branch here in '52.
And do you have to be a veteran to be a member of the Legion?
You're supposed to have your discharge papers and be a veteran.
In those days.
In those days. So you have veterans from first, if they're still around, the Second World War, Korean, and are there any from Vietnam? And
well, we have veterans from Vietnam coming in. They're recognized in the Legion now.
Yeah.
But then we have Gulf War, the Gulf War, of course.
Right.
They were recognized right away because they struck medals for them right away with it.
And a lot of the peacekeepers as well.
Right across from the day one since the peacekeeping, Canada was the leader in it, and all members are eligible. RCMPs are eligible.
Now these medals that you have on, you say these are service medals over here for your service in the Second World War, which wasn't really recognized until 1993, wasn't
Something
it?
like that,
Yeah. So here you were as a vet, really, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old. On a Norwegian ship, and these over here are what are they?
They're all the Legion, past officers of the Legion that have been in, and like this is your 50th anniversary, this is your 60th anniversary. These are Legion executive, the branch level. This is your past president's medals. I have this is my 6th term as president, and then you go into your district officers, and then I go into I'm a past commander. Besides that, and then I go into this one here, the Legion Meritorious Service Medal, which is the highest award you can get in the Legion.
And what was that given to you for?
For dedication to the Legion and helping the veterans and whatnot with it, the whole thing with the Legion.
And you've been a member of Newmarket for, what, 50
Well, I joined in Richmond Hill, but a member of them in 1955, I believe I transferred to Newmarket from when we moved up here.
But you've been a member of the Legion for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And those medals that you have then, Lauren, are they service medals?
Yeah.
And what are some of those for?
This is the volunteer medal and the, I can keep track of half the stuff. And then they have for different ones over in England, France, Belgium, into Holland.
Where were you when the war ended? What country were you in?
I was in Holland, at Nijmegen. And the reason why I come home is I'd been over there for 5 years, and they come out that if you'd been there 5 years, you could apply and get a month's leave to come back home and then you'd go back.
Oh, I see.
But I got home and I never did get back. If I'd have known, I'd have stayed till the finish. But
so you came over before the war had ended?
Yeah.
So you were in Canada when the VE Day?
Yeah.
And you were in Japan, you said?
Well, I'm wrong. We were just going in to Japan. Like we just left New Zealand, and when we got to Tokyo, we went into Tokyo Bay. We had to offload, in other words, drop all our ammunition overboard, and then go in. And the funny part is the other cargo we had about 5,000 tons of ammunition, about 3,000 tons of sugar. Quite a. So I guess one was to sweeten up the other one, more or less with it. But that's what we had in that with it. That was, when we went ashore, MacArthur hadn't even came ashore yet.
But the war had ended then.
Yeah, but it wasn't officially over.
So were you there when they signed the peace treaty?
At that time, I was in Nagoya, Japan.
And were you still with the Norwegian?
I was on an American ship then.
American
freighter.
Freighter. So, so you there in the harbor when they signed the? You were.
Yeah.
And how did you get back home then? Did you have to take a ship home? Or?
The same ship we're on then. We came back and we signed off in Portland, Oregon. And then I went to British Columbia and then came home from the hitchhike home from there.
And so, would this be the first time your parents saw you since you left, I guess? What did they say when you came back, you know?
Well,
Where have you been?
The funny part is, I shouldn't say the funny part, but they had a letter from the government saying that my ship had been sunk and I was missing. But the problem was that it was a sister ship to the ship I was on that got sunk. It was just coming out of North Africa area, and we were at that time in West Africa, Lagos, West Africa, where we were. And their ship got, but the two coincided exactly with the dates. One was in North Africa, and one was in West Africa.
All right, well, we've got just 1 minute to wrap up. Just wanted to mention again, this poppies will be, they're not really on sale. You make a donation. And it'll be on, because this show will be airing just before the Remembrance Day. Now, you'll be having Remembrance Day services again here in Newmarket. Usually have them on Sunday now, I think. And also, I guess, will you be announcing in the paper when the Legion will be opening, and so we'll get to know when that official will happen?
We're going to have a gala opening for it.
And how far along is it now?
Well, we're into the, we've got the tile all laid in the new games room upstairs. We moved right upstairs completely, so we've got all that done. And now they're starting to work in the big hall part and putting they got the drywall all up, and they're putting the ceiling.
Okay, well, we have to go away for now. So thanks for coming by, and we'll look for that. Again, Lauren?
Pleasure to meet you.
Okay, that's our show for this week. I'm John Dowson. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.